When traveling to Spain, you definitely can't miss visiting Ronda, a historic mountaintop town that's set dramatically above a deep gorge, with gorgeous centuries-old Spanish architecture and an impressive stone bridge called the Puente Nuevo. You also have to check out the picturesque Setenil de las Bodegas, with its whitewashed houses built into the surrounding cliffs.
We're Tom
And Mike
from Take Time to Travel, and we've spent the last 5 years traveling and eating our way around the world, including 3 months living in Spain. Today, we're going to show you the amazing day trip we did from Malaga, where we had a lovely guided tour of Ronda, explored Setenil de las Bodegas, and of course, had some delicious Spanish food.
To start the tour, the bus picked us up outside the Malaga train station, and then we had a scenic 1.5-hour drive through the countryside before arriving in Ronda and making our first stop at the Church of Our Lady of Mercy, and then walking into the Alameda del Tajo Park, where we strolled down this beautiful promenade on our way to one of Ronda's many breathtaking lookout points. This one is called the Balcón del Coño, which has a kind of vulgar translation and towers about 130 meters above the valley below.
Next, we learned a little bit about the Plaza de Toros de Ronda, where modern bullfighting began. And just a few steps away from there is the Walk of Fame for Spain's most well-known bullfighters, as well as the impressive Mirador de Ronda. Now, I'm afraid of heights, but I somehow managed to make it all the way out to the edge of the balcony, and I thought it was definitely worth it for this phenomenal perspective, overlooking the buildings perched on the side of the cliff and the expansive valley vistas where you can see for kilometers.
Then, we walked for a few minutes through the charming streets on our way to Ronda's most iconic landmark, the Puente Nuevo, or New Bridge, construction of which started in 1759 and took 34 years to complete. As we walked out onto the bridge, we were amazed by the absolutely spectacular views. But wait until you see the panorama from the Mirador de Aldehuela. From up here, you could really appreciate the height of the Puente Nuevo. This imposing stone multi-arch bridge stands 105 meters tall and crosses over the gorge and the Guadalquivir River.
Ronda truly is breathtaking from this vantage point, but there's also lots of other places to see, so let's make our way over to the old town through the narrow cobblestone streets lined with whitewashed buildings and quaint little plazas like Plaza de María Auxiliadora, which has yet another observation deck with a sweeping view of the surrounding natural landscape. How pretty is that?
Now let's keep going and continue on the tour, where our next stop is the ancient Mondragon Palace, which was built by the Moors and dates back to 1314. And just a short but very scenic stroll away is the Iglesia de Santa María la Mayor. Work began on the church in the late 15th century and took more than 200 years to complete.
We also made a quick stop at the San Sebastian Minaret, a centuries-old Moorish tower, before starting our descent down the fairy tale-like streets over to this Mirador viewpoint, which had a unique perspective overlooking the quaint 16th century Puente Viejo old bridge. Just beside the lookout is the Arco de Felipe V Arch, which was the main entrance to the old town before the new bridge was completed.
From the arch, it's just a short walk out onto the old bridge, where we enjoyed the dramatic views of the lush green valley and the river far below. But it's almost time for our lunch, so we had to walk back up the stairs on the other side of the gorge. Here we saw some of the best views in Ronda, especially from the Cuenca viewpoint, where you could really appreciate the scale of the Puente Nuevo. So of course, we had to take a quick selfie.
After that, we parted ways with our tour guide and had 2 hours of free time to explore on our own. So we went straight into the picturesque Plaza del Socorro, where we saw lots of restaurants with terraces sprawling into the square, and this tapas bar called La Taberna had good reviews online. Plus, it had an unobstructed view of the church and was great for people watching. So we decided to give it a try and started with a couple of large Cruz Campo beers to drink. followed by the seasoned tomato salad, which is uniquely presented and was super fresh and flavorful.
Next was a few different tapas, the stuffed breaded mushroom, as well as the calamari black bread roll with aioli, and the Iberian pork burger with mustard and pistachio. These were all really good and fairly priced. My favorite was the stuffed mushroom, but Tom's was probably the calamari roll. We also had the fried calamari plate for us to share, which we topped with some freshly squeezed lemon juice, as well as the slow-cooked pork cheek tapa, which pulled apart incredibly easily. The pork was super tender, full of flavor, and tasted delectable, just like our next dish, the rabo de toro, which is bull-tail stew with chestnut sauce and a side of sliced potatoes.
Afterward, we wanted something sweet, so we went to this bakery called Confiteria Las Campanas. It was just a short walk away and had tons of appetizing pastries on display, so we each chose something that looked yummy, and then found a bench to sit down on in front of the fountain in the square, where we couldn't wait to open our care package. I chose the toasted egg yolk sponge cake, and Mike decided on the chocolate and cream pastry. They were decent, but nothing special.
We still had a little bit of free time left after eating all of that food, so we strolled along Ronda's main pedestrian walking street called Carrera Espinel, or Calle La Bola, which had lots of patios and souvenir shops to check out. But let's keep going. Our favorite part of the tour is coming up next.
We met back up with our group, hopped on the bus, and drove about 30 minutes, where we were greeted by this cute little train that would take us over to Setenil de las Bodegas. We climbed on board and began our short ride down into the village.
Then we had about an hour to explore the magical streets of Setenil de las Bodegas on foot. This fairy tale-like setting has the whitewashed houses built underneath the overhanging cliff face. In all our travels, we've never seen anything else quite like it. With the Rio Tajo River running through the center of the town, lots of lush greenery, and these unique cave buildings, this is the perfect place for some memorable photos, or to sit on the patio and grab a bite to eat. But since we just ate way too much food in Ronda, we'll keep moving and show you what else makes this village so special.
We love to walk, and we found it very pedestrian friendly. But if you don't like hills, you could hire a tuk-tuk. As we passed by the main drag with all of the restaurants, we found ourselves in more of a residential area, which almost reminded us of Greece, with all of the white buildings up the hillside. And as we continued to wander further, we found that Google Maps didn't work too well, but we didn't really mind too much, since everywhere we went was absolutely beautiful.
Once we made it around the bend, we noticed this castle up on the hill, so we decided we had to go and check it out. On our way, we found this super narrow walkway called Calle Herreria that led us up to this cute little spot with the phrase, "Kiss me in the corner." And just up another set of stairs was this quaint plaza. At this point, we were getting a little bit tired from all of the climbing, but it was definitely worth it just to enjoy this stunning perspective of this Pueblo Blanco, although we were disappointed at the top to find a church and not the castle.
There are remnants of an old fortress, but I guess we took a wrong turn somewhere. So we just kept on wandering to see what else we could find and continued walking back down through a different residential area before we crossed over the Rio Tajo River and started hiking back uphill to get to the Mirador del Carmen lookout, which definitely has the best views in all of Setenil de las Bodegas, as well as the Setenil sign. While the town only has about 3,000 residents, it attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors like us each year. And it's no surprise why, with so many of these awe-inspiring views. Fun fact, Setenil was occupied during the Roman invasion in the 1st century AD, and possibly as early as 25,000 years ago by cave-dwelling societies.
After taking an obligatory video selfie, we made our way down the picturesque staircase and to the main street on the other side of the river, where the cliff hangs entirely above the walkway in this part. Then we managed to find our way over to where we started our visit in this picture-perfect village and boarded the mini train to take us back to our bus to Malaga. If you want to check out this unforgettable tour to Ronda and Setenil de las Bodegas, we have a link to this tour in the description section down below. For more Spain videos, click here. Please like and subscribe. And remember, take time to travel. Catch you on the next one.